Hello and welcome to the Prospect Blueprint. I'm Kelly Kleiman, and my battery mate is Mr. Rick Dempsey, 24-year MLB vet, fan favorite with the Twins, Yankees, Orioles, Brewers, and the Dodgers, and the 1983 World Series MVP for the Baltimore Orioles. Hi, Rick. How you doing?
I'm doing very good, man. Anxious to get into Jeff for a little bit here, but
yeah. Let's talk about this guy.
The incarnation of Earl Weaver in the college.
He's tough. He's in a tough division. Our guest tonight is a highly successful coach who has been around for a few seasons. At the Prospect Blueprint, we salute longevity, and this outstanding baseball coach has that and a whole bunch of wins in a very tough division. Jeff Forehand begins his 17th season as Lipscomb University baseball head coach in 2023 after being named the Atlantic Sun Conference coach in the year of 2022. Well, that's this year. So congratulations. And he's looking for a repeat, huh?
That's right. That's right. You know how those Coach of the Year awards work, don't you?
Well,
good players. You got good players.
Yeah. It's relying on the guys who pitch and hit and play defense. Now, Coach Forehand took the helm in 2007. He hasn't looked back since. His overall record as a collegiate head coach is 633 and 585 and 1 somehow in 22 total seasons. He's earned his 600th career win on February 19th of last year, and you've won 2 ASUN Championships and the only 2 NCAA Tournament appearances in program history in 2008 and 2015. And I think that the odds are he's got another one coming up. I think he's due. How you doing, Coach?
Well, I'm doing great. I really appreciate you guys having any opportunity to talk baseball, especially with you guys. It's going to be a blast. So I hope you're right. I hope it's time for us to be back in that postseason. And we had it set up this year. We just fell a little short, but really liked the team and just fell a little bit short. But looking forward to them coming back to school here in a couple of weeks.
Skipper, how's that recruiting process? I was saying to a couple of the other coaches, man, that's the one thing that would keep me from being a coach is knowing how to recruit. And you obviously, your record proves it. You obviously know how to recruit. How's your summer been so far this year?
Busy recruiting. It never stops. It never ends. And excuse me, fortunately, I got some assistant coaches that hit the road and they're gone all the time. And, we're working. Heck, we were working up even last night at this same time. I'm talking to one to see if we can get him to come on in for this year. And that's it just never stops. And I think sometimes that's that's the blessing and the curse of our job. We love what we do, but it never slows down. And a lot of guys in the college ranks are jumping over to the pro ball side because at least in the pro ball side, you've got some time off, and we never stop. We may have that opportunity some in November and December to slow down a little bit, but when you're trying to raise up 40 young men, it just it never stops. And again, not complaining. We enjoy what we do, but blessed to have some of these assistant coaches that I have, and they put some good players in front of us, and we just want to raise them up, and hopefully they become we're raising some better sons, husbands, and fathers, and win some games along the way. And I'm just so proud and blessed to be the head baseball coach at Lipscomb University. And like I said, we've had some solid coaches there. My last 2 pitching coaches, one's with the Cubs now, one's with the Yankees. We brought a veteran in now. That's our pitching coach right now, Matt Myers. It's been around Division I baseball for a while, but coaching. I've had some great coaches, and luckily, unfortunately, some of them are going to pro ball, but that just means you're on the right guys.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the recruiting process. What events do you prioritize? What's the criteria that you use to determine where you're going to recruit talent? Is it PG, travel ball tourneys, college summer leagues for Portal and JUCO, all the above?
All of the above. And it's, we get a lead on somebody and we usually try to take off and see them. Fortunately, we're right here in Nashville, and my assistant coach, Brian Ryman, has run some tournaments called the Music City Classic for the last several years. And we're blessed that a bunch of teams come through here. So we get a great hub here. We do the Perfect Game events down in Atlanta. We're going to go everywhere that the big tournaments are. And, last week, my assistant coach just got back from the Futures games down there. And looking at the prospect coming up in the next couple of years and even all the way down to the freshman class. So it just is a nonstop, and then now we got this portal thing, and I'm sure we want to get into that a little bit, but that's crazy. And that's a whole nother, added dimension to the recruiting. And when we get into it, I've got lots of stories for you guys on that.
Coach, you don't win 600 games unless you know who the top prospects are. And then again, you got to be a magician to be able to talk to them a little bit and convince guys like that to choose Lipscomb over the SEC and the Big 12 and the ACC teams. You must be pretty good at it. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, if we go back and all the ones that have gone to those that we've been on that have gone to those teams, and we probably been a lot better. But the ones we've gotten, we've always taken pride in, the ones we do get, we're trying to develop them. We're trying to help them be better. And, we have a motto on our team. We're looking for the 5-tool player, but we're also looking for the 5-tool person. And we get a guy that comes in there that's a good guy, that is a good player and a great person. We can start packing all those guys together and develop a great culture. And, Belichick says it's best. You got to make your culture contribution off the field first, long before you make it on the field. And, then we turn into guys, then when I get there, I'm blessed with Caleb Joseph and Rex Brothers, who big leaguers, and Josh Smith was a big leaguer. So when I got there, we took over some really good players. And then, from then on out, we've had some drafts. We had 2 guys picked up this time. I'm in the draft. So I give that credit to my assistant coaches. They, they're beating the pavement on the phone all the time. And, we got a beautiful place. If we can get somebody to campus, I think we got a great opportunity to get them. We always are playing a good schedule, on top of the good teams in the Atlantic Sun. For instance, this year we opened Notre Dame at home for 3. We got to go to Auburn for 3. We're at Mississippi State for 3. We got Georgia Tech, Louisville, Tennessee, and Vandy, on the non-conference schedule. And then on top of the other non-conference teams around Nashville that we play, Middle Tennessee, Tennessee Tech, Western Kentucky, Belmont, all good teams with a high RPI. And then we'll go right into the ASUN play, which is always strong. And this year we're going back to playing everybody and not going to be in divisions anymore. So got a great schedule. So we win 35 games again next year. We should be back. Kelly, like you said, we should be back in that postseason.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough schedule to get 35 games out of, but historically you've done it. You could easily do it again. Well,
it's tough. I want to say it's easy to do that again, but if we don't get prepared to play those games early on and go in and play those Power Fives, and you can't get that RPI up, any other way. You got to be able to knock some of those guys off, and then they have some good seasons, and you look up and and you're in top 50 in the RPI, and you got a chance to make the NCAA tournament, even 100%. If you don't win your conference tournament. So it's there's a formula, all that too, and we study it as much as we can. But again, everybody in college baseball is good, and like I said, it doesn't matter if you're playing Mississippi State or you're playing, I'm not gonna name another team, but winning college baseball games is hard no matter who you're playing. So we think we got some guys coming back. We got some experience coming back, got some good players coming in. So hopefully we put ourselves in a position to hang in there with those big boys this time.
Jeff, some of the things that have really sprouted out over the last couple of years are these showcases. How have you been able to handle the showcases? Is it good for your program?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you get any chance you get a opportunity to see guys play, but sometimes those showcases can fool you a little bit. You want to maybe see those guys' instincts and see him have a few at bats. But just watching a guy work out, you can see that too. You got a guy that can hit the ball a mile in batting practice, and then the game comes around and it's a little bit different. And you like to see those pitchers be able to compete. And again, we got TrackMan and all this data that tells us this information now, but if that pitcher's out there and he's throwing well, the batter usually tells you what's going on. Exactly. And if he's missing some barrels, then that's the guy we want to keep following. So those showcases are big, and the opportunities that we have now to see guys is just it's there all the time, and it's year round. And the NCAA did vote this year, made us take off the day before and after Father's Day. and the day before and after the 4th to get us off the roads and just to make us spend some time with our families, because we all are nuts and we're going to be, if there's a game going on, we're going to be at it somewhere, somehow. But they make us take some time off. And I do think that's good. But like I said, last week hundreds and hundreds of coaches are down, watching the futures games and just trying to get prepared, not only for next year, but on down the line. And it just, if you don't have your list prepared, and that's the one thing about my assistant coaches, boy, we've got the list. So we just got to keep working. And, we got a commitment last night for a guy coming in 23. And that was great. Can't talk about that. That's against the rules, but we got a guy coming. Can't mention any names, but we got a commitment last night. So, we said it before, and it just it's ongoing, and we just got to stay after it.
Well, let's talk about the staying after it part. A lot of smaller D1 teams or I should say programs, are relatively strapped for funds and tend to recruit super regionally. And that leaves a lot of potential talent out there that you have limited or no access to, which beckons the question, what means do you have to ID talent that falls outside of your travel area that might not only be a game changer for your program, but for certain coaches might even grant them an extension down the road?
Well, we're going to get there, and our school has blessed us. Our administration is great. We don't have the New York Yankees budget by any means, but if we need to get to a game, we're going to get there. And my assistant coach, I bet he's put 5,000 miles on the car since the season's ended. And those guys, like I say, are working hard, and school supports us. We're not eating bologna sandwiches on the road and sleeping in the back seat. We got the opportunity to be out there, and, again, school wants us to do well. So it's supported. And even if the funds get low, hey, we'll fundraise it up and get to where we have to get, because recruiting is the name of the game. There are so many great coaches out there, and, we all are working to coach these guys up. But, just like everybody else, you're trying to find the best of the best, and you coach them up, then you put yourself in a lot better position to have some successful seasons. So again, we're like I said, we're not the New York Yankees, but if it's going on, we're going to get to it.
But you are in a heck of a town. Nashville's pretty nice. Well, let's discuss the paradigm. We could call it a paradigm shift, because it is a paradigm shift that's taken place in college sports, the transfer portal and the NIL. How does that affect your program as kids chase dollars outside of just scholarships and are willing to bail if they don't get playing time at the outset? Does this make you more inclined to scan JUCOs for more experienced players who can step right in and be less of a portal bail risk? And then what's going on with the NIL? Maybe the NIL hasn't really stepped in right now with baseball all that much, but where do you see that going as well?
Well, that's where we are right now. That's the $1 million question. For us, for instance, going into this season, we did really well in the portal. And last season, when guys were coming in, the dollars weren't there with the NIL. We weren't quite paying them just yet. So we did really well in the portal, because small school, we don't have the ability to pay you an NIL just yet. And I had a conversation with one of our administrators the other day, is that, we're going to have to get in the game, or we're going to have to talk about the game, because right now we're not in it, and we're going to have to get there. But going into at the end of not this past season, but the season before last, our two of our better pitchers decided to move on to the Power Five. And again, I no hard feelings. I was disappointed because I wanted them to stay, but one left for Auburn, one left for Kentucky. And our closer was at Kentucky. He was first team all conference SEC, got drafted in the 10th round. So he was a good player. And the guy that was our setup guy that went to Auburn, he was a good player too. Had an arm injury this year, but even though those two guys went out, well, we brought in some good players, and we had some transfers guys come in, some guys that had started out at Division I schools, and then, like you said, Kelly, went to go back to junior college, and then so we got guys that right out of high school went to some Power Fives. Didn't work out for them. They went back to JUCO, really made their name, and then we picked them up. Guy turned into our number one starter, was one of those guys that was our closer that just got picked up with a free agent with the Orioles at the end of the draft this year. We picked those kind of guys up, and then we had, our third baseman was a bounce back. Our shortstop was a bounce back this past year. So we had some homegrown guys that were in the lineup. We had a mid-semester transfer that came to Lipscomb to go to grad school. It was a local kid that transferred back in from Duke and hit double-figure home runs and double-figure doubles. And, just guys like that we were able to stay with, that we knew when they were here. They finished their career at a Power 5 and then came back and played for us. And that's the reason we were successful. And Kelly, you hit it right on the head, because at some of these smaller schools, if we hit on the freshman and the freshman jumps in there and plays every day and has a great freshman year, well, what's going to happen? And again, it's hard for me to say, when big Power 5 school is calling you and going to give you NIL money and going to pay for your school, and you get a chance to play in the SEC or the ACC, the Big 12 or whatever you want to call it. It's hard for me to hold those guys back, because and I gave this example too, all of us mid-major coaches, if one of those teams calls us and wants us to be the coach at their school, we're probably going to be interested, because it's just so much to it. Right. But as far as the loyalty might go, again, I understand what's going on. And, some kids, several years ago, we had 3 kids in the Cape Cod League. We had the player of the year, pitcher of the year, and an all-star. And if we had this same situation, those 3 kids would have been put in a situation that would have been really, really difficult, because they would have had to choose loyalty, or they would have been playing at a big school, because they had really had some success for us as sophomores, and then to the Cape Cod League just tore it up. So they would have had some opportunities to do that. So this portal thing it's out of control. And I think it's something that we've got to get a handle on, or, amateur sports, Rick, going to be similar to what's going on in professional sports, because, so many guys are getting paid. And, again, in baseball, like you alluded to, Kelly, it's not as the money's not as deep in baseball just yet, from what I know, from what it is in football and basketball. But we do know that there are, some of the schools are able to pay some guys. And again, the sad thing about it is it's not illegal. Nobody's breaking any rules. It's just, some of the guys that have that opportunity. And if I had it, we'd probably be doing more of it as well. But at the end of the day, I think we got to get a handle on it if we're going to keep this, NCAA Division I only. If not, we're going to have to break it off more to NCAA Power 5, and then the rest of us that are competing in a different sandbox.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I know of a meeting that took place today with a conference that has had some good ball. It's a big school. It's a big football conference. I don't want to give it away, but they're talking to the NIL guy over there, and there's literally millions being talked about for the baseball team. Yeah, that's for sure. You know, I can imagine in the near future, a coach looks at a kid's metrics. He's hitting 400. He's got a 450 on base percentage. And he's got 250,000 Instagram followers. That the NIL guys are going to love that, because he's a brand ambassador at that point. Maybe it's a glove company. Maybe it's, somebody who wants to have the exposure to his following. It just changes the paradigm. That's why it's a paradigm shifter. Crazy. And we talked tonight, and I wish I had some suggestions on, what the remedy could be and how we could bring this back to to where it was. But then again, I always think back at the NIL, and I talked to somebody the other day about it. And when Tebow was quarterback in Florida, when all those Tim Tebow jerseys were being sold, I just always thought that young man should have been able to get some of that. And I think about an NIL as, Tim Tebow goes and signs autographs. Somebody ought to pay him, a few $100s to go sign autographs, which he never did or never was able to do. And, you look at that from those type of players. That's what I think the NIL is. And it looks like to me, or feels like to me, it's just a whole nother side pot of money that has been set aside to help these kids, be at these schools. So number one, the 11.7 scholarships is a thing of the past when you're talking about all the money that's being put into it. If you give them the money, but use the money to pay for your school, and we'll give you some more money to be able to have an NIL deal. So the 11.7 is what we're still working with, and a lot of the mid-majors are, but there are some of them, some teams that are working, with
a lot more than 11.7 because, like you alluded to, we're talking about millions of dollars that might be out there and be available in an NIL deal. So we're not playing apples to apples right now. But hey, nobody's going to remember that when we go to Auburn, we go to Mississippi State, when Notre Dame comes in, and we go play at Louisville and Georgia Tech and Vandy and Tennessee. Nobody's going to remember that, and I'm not going to remember that. It's going to be game time, and we got to go. So we're going to take mine against yours and see what happens. And we may not have any NIL deals, but we're going to play hard.
You need to get a gas house gang of players who feel they've been spited and they're angry and been disrespected. So when you go into those big schools, you kick their, you know what? Sorry, Rick, I'm cutting into your time. But that's what I would do.
That's right.
But I don't have 600 wins. I don't have one.
Coach, you can hear you're very passionate about winning. That's what I love about this interview today. It's a lot like Earl Weaver. He was so hell bent on the fundamentals of the game. Your record, it just says so much about you and your program. Let's talk a little bit about your ball club. How many guys are going to come back for next year? They're going to help you to compete a little bit more, win a few more ball games. You know, what are you looking for in your recruiting? I bet I know all right now. It's probably got to be pitching, obviously.
Right.
But it looks like you're the whole package. You know, the fundamentals of the game have to be played up there because you don't compete like you compete at that level unless you have a strong fundamental ball club. You must press that. You know, I've never had an opportunity to see you work in person, but I can tell by looking at all the numbers, you're a little Earl Weaver ready to rock and roll.
Well, every day, that's my passion. I love when we go out there to practice and, you know, just like you said, the fundamentals of the game. And, you know, I tell them all the time that the game tells you all you need to know. And, you know, you just got to watch it. And sometimes these kids are coming in with not enough knowledge for where I think they should be when they get to us. But again, I have this saying, you don't know till you know. And we had a guy one year before we started in the fall, he stole 60 bases in junior college. And he gets to first base. My first base coach said, hey, pitcher's 1-3 to the plate. He's 1-3 to the plate. And this guy stole 60 bags. So, you know, maybe he said he was 1-4 or 1-5. So he should be stealing, right? You know, when the pitcher's delivering the ball to the plate. And he came back, kept telling him he's 1-4, 1-5 to the plate. And finally, after the third pitch, he asked my first base coach, who was a 15-year major leaguer at that time, or professional guy, played parts of 7 or 8 seasons in the big leagues. And he looked at him, he goes, hey, what's that mean? And the kid stole 60 bags before he got to me and didn't know what the clock meant so those small things that we've got to start over with to start teaching them. And you don't know till you know. And then we get him going on that. And he becomes a base stealer, and, you know, everything's history. But he was doing it before he even knew what it meant and how to even do it. He was just faster than everybody. Yeah. So now, you know, those small things, I just feel like we start from the ground up and we get going, and, you know, we teach the outfielders their funnel and their fundamental, what they're doing out there, and the infielders. And, you know, we feel like if we can field it at 980, we can be in the postseason. We field it at 980 and pitch it the way I think we can pitch it. The offense will take care of itself. We had our best offensive season last year than we've had in many, many years, but we pitched it pretty well too. And we got the defensive player of the year coming back at shortstop. So we should be able to pick it up a little bit too.
What years are you looking for? So your 22 is probably maybe fully recruited. What are you looking for 23?
We always like to bring in a catcher. We always like to bring a catcher in every class. We kind of got behind with that this year. We're going to bring a couple in this time. Obviously, we're always looking for that next pitching guy. When we got a couple in the portal. We got 3 pitchers coming in that are going to be grad student transfers, which are give some experience there. But you know, we're always looking for. We want to stay up the middle. You know, Rick, you know what I'm talking about. The pitcher, the catcher, the shortstop, and the outfielder. What's that?
Am I too old to come in for this program? Man, you got
I
me
think
all
you could
excited.
do it. Hey, you and Caleb Joseph can go battle it out.
Too funny.
I'll catch circles around Caleb.
That's right. That's right.
He's too big to mess with, though.
Well, Coach Jeff Forehand, Lipscomb University, we want to thank you for joining us. Good luck out there. Let's stay in touch. Wow. That's about all the time we have for tonight. Rick, do you have any parting words?
Guys, I just really appreciate it, man. You guys get me fired up, and and Kelly, I apologize for last time I left you guys hanging out there. I couldn't remember what I was supposed to do. I think I'm getting old. I told my wife I gotta. When my players do that, they know what I tell them when they have an excuse. I said, you just got to play better, coach. You got to play better. I don't want to apologize, but I really appreciate you guys having me on, and man, such a blast tonight. And hey, if I can ever come back, man, I would love to do it. You guys are in Nashville. Look me up.
Definitely.
Will do. Will do. Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. From all of us here at the Prospect Blueprint, keep your chin in and your eyes on the ball. Have a good evening, and we'll see you soon.